And it's time now to say good evening to Sam Spooner, who joins us for this weekend's hockey preview. Good evening, Sam. Which are your two featured games this week?
Well, I think I've gone for big one in the Men's Premier League, Bacchus versus Valkyrie, and in Men's Division 1, Kastanay versus Harlequins.
Let's start with the Men's Premier League. Bacchus against Valkyrie. Bacchus have got a firm grip on this title race. Do you expect them to go on and do the job?
I think I've said this before, that Bacchus have an unnerving will to win. It's just plain scary sometimes when you see they're not playing particularly well, and they're coming up against good sides that really should be taking advantage of that, but they just can't, because Bacchus always seem to get the points they need. I mean, Valkyries are the only team to have taken points out of them so far this season. I can't see them doing that tomorrow. The past couple of weeks, Bacchus have been on some fine goal scoring form. Their front three have been banging the goals in, 7-8 goals a week between the three of them. Andy Whiting, top of the goal scoring charts as well, not just by a little bit, but by a lot as well. So I think Bacchus have really sort of kicked on, and they've hit top gear now in this season, and they should come away with the win. But Valkyries, this one's always a big game, and it's always a spicy game as well, and it's always worth a watch.
We know, well, you and I know, and I'm sure people out there who are familiar with Manx hockey know the likes of Andy Whiting, who you've just mentioned, Johnny Callow, George Harrison, who reads a game excellently. They're the stars. Also, Jamie Brown, you've got to give a mention to him as well. Who are the standout players for Valkyries?
You've got to look at players like Greg Miller, Louis Novo-Smith. Louis Novo-Smith does all the basic things perfectly, and he doesn't seem to put a foot wrong. And then you've got Greg Miller, who generally sits at centre back. You've got Will Margo in goals, who's massive amounts of experience in there, which maybe backers have lost over the past couple of seasons. But Valkyries, they don't have the youth coming through that backers do. George Harrison, Josh Reardon, Callum Baker as well. It's been in the first team, and Elliot Reed in the first team for backers. You can't see those same players coming through for Valkyries, so their longevity is not quite in the same position.
But in the mixed final recently between Bacchus and Valkyries, Louis Novo-Smith featured in that game, and he was key in Valkyries trying to come back mount a second half comeback. He's got bags of talent, and he can influence a game, no doubt about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Louis Novo-Smith, who's actually captain of the men's Valkyries A team, is an undoubted talent. Like I said, he does all the basics perfectly. His distribution is second to none. You could stand him in the middle of the pitch and just pass him the ball, and you wouldn't have to move. You move around him, and he is a very, very good player on that side of things as well.
If Bacchus do go on and win this and take maximum points from it, who is realistically left out there to take points off Bacchus and stop them from winning the title?
They only really have one team that they'll be playing against which could potentially take points from them. It was a close game early in the season. That's against Vikings A, which is coming up either next week or the week after. But that being said, Vikings have yet to play Valkyries this season. They've got 2 games to play, and one of them's been rearranged from early in the season, so we don't know how that's going to go against Valkyries A. But Bacchus A won out 3-2 winners earlier in the season. I think Vikings, if Bacchus win tomorrow, Vikings are really their only threat.
And moving on then to your second featured match this week, it comes in PWC Men's Division 1. It's a game close to my heart, really, because I'm involved in it, but it's Castletown A against Harlequins A. For those who don't know, Castletown A, undefeated so far. They've registered, they've got a 100% record. They're on course to get promotion to the top flight. But they do face, if I say so myself, a bit of competition against a Harlequins A side tomorrow who got thumped by them, let's not beat around the bush, 5-0 to Castletown A in the reverse fixture. But since then, 3 wins and a draw, so they're unbeaten since then. Maybe the kick up the backside that Quins needed.
Yeah, I think Quins have started the season fairly poorly, losing to Saracens A, Castan A. But you see the results since then, you see they've picked up, they've got better, they seem to have played the right tactics most of the time. And they had a humdinger of a game against Saracens Men's a few weeks ago, and I was there for the last 15-20 minutes of that game, and it was fantastic to watch. 5-5, and it was, both teams came off saying that was probably one of the best 2 games they've ever played in, one of the closest games they've ever played in. And that's just a sign that Harlequins are getting better, and maybe it's a sign that they could beat Castletown A as well. Castletown Men's A have really had an easy ride of it this season. Maybe one challenging game against Saracens, but I really do think Harlequins could challenge them, especially with a couple of players out for Castletown A this weekend.
Well, do you have the team news available to you?
I don't know. I know Dave Clark-Wilson is away skiing, so I'm not sure if he's available this weekend or not.
And in terms of the team news for Harlequins, two big misses really, Peter Nuttall and Peter Foxton, two experienced players. How big a miss will they be for Harlequins?
They're going to be huge. I mean, Harlequins have a great blend of youth and experience, and those players that are sort of stuck in between. And when I say experience, I mean the older players like Pete and like the two Petes. Pete Foxton at the back is just Mr. Dependable. You cannot run past him anywhere near him. You have to pass the ball around him. And then Pete Nuttall, he's almost a creator, and he's very, very good on the ball. So they are going to be big misses, but Harlequins have got some fantastic young players, and I've said this early in the season as well. They've done brilliantly with their youth system that are coming in to replace them this weekend, and I'm fairly confident they should do well.
It is a big chance for some of those youngsters out there. Shay Christiansen also had a very good game last week. He was man of the match against Valkyries B as Harlequins won 2-0. Will Hassell's not hit the heights that he is capable of. He'll know that, but he's got bags of potential. He's going to be a super player. George Ratcliffe has been very good as well. So there's a chance for some young players to step into this Harlequins side and really make a name for themselves. But it's going to be a tough game tomorrow, that is for sure. Sam Spooner, thanks very much.